Hello, it's good to see you here for story time. Big Ted and Little Ted and I have been making something. Wonder if you can guess what it is. I'm going to give you a clue. It's something that swims in a river and also something you might find in the sea. Do you know what it is? It's a fish. This is a special fish because this one opens and closes its mouth. I'm going to show you how to make one of those later. But shall we hear this story and find out why we've got a big fish that opens its mouth? Well, today's story is about a man called Jonah. Here's Jonah. And God asked Jonah to do some certain things that Jonah wasn't sure he wanted to do. So we've got some actions. Can you help me? We're going to say through the story, God said, go, and Jonah said, no. God said, go, and Jonah said, no. Can you do those actions with me as we hear the story? I've got my storybook here to help me. So this is a man called Jonah, and he was one of God's helpers. God gave Jonah messages to share with his people. And one day, God told Jonah to go to a city called Nineveh, where the people were being very mean. God wanted Jonah to go and tell them not to be mean anymore. But Jonah, he didn't want to go. And he ran away. God said, go, and Jonah said, no. Now, Jonah went off to find some sailors with a boat, and he asked the sailors to take him on their boat. They were going in the opposite direction to where God wanted Jonah to go. The sailors were quite scared because Jonah was on the boat, and as the boat set sail, a storm started to rage. God said, go, and Jonah said, no. So God sent a storm. Jonah knew that God had sent the storm because he knew that God didn't want him to sail away. He knew that God wanted him to go to Nineveh. So Jonah did something very strange. He said to the sailors on the boat, throw me overboard, because then the boat will be safe. God said, go, and Jonah said, no. Well, the sailors threw Jonah out of the boat into the sea, big sea, very rough. And Jonah, he slipped down and down and down and down and down into the water. But God didn't let Jonah go all the way to the bottom. God sent a big fish. Here we are, a big fish. Big fish like my fish that I made. And the big fish took Jonah right inside him, into his tummy. God said, go, and Jonah said, no. Well, into the fish, Jonah did go. And he was there for 3 days. And he had time to think about, did God really want him to go to Nineveh? Jonah realised that God did. And Jonah found himself 3 days later, lying on a beach. The fish had spat him out, and Jonah was lying on the beach. God said, go, and Jonah said, no. But Jonah had had time to think, and he decided that he needed, as God had given him another chance, he needed to go to Nineveh. So God said, go, and Jonah said, yes. And he went to Nineveh. Jonah did just what God had said. God reminded Jonah that he loved the people of Nineveh and he wanted them to help them too. So when God says go, remember to say yes. Oh, that was a fun story, wasn't it? Did you like it when Jonah went down into the water? Oh, he fell into the water, he was going down, but God sent a big fish. The big fish swallowed up Jonah, and Jonah stayed in the fish's tummy for 3 days until the fish spat Jonah out onto the beach. And Jonah knew that he had been given a special job to do by God. I wonder if you can make one of these fish. I made a fish shape. Can you see? I made a fish shape and I cut it in half. And then I coloured it with my blue felt pen. And then, can you see what I've stuck it onto? It's a clothes peg. You can use any sort of clothes peg, but you just stick half of the fish on one side and half on the other. And then you can pretend you're being Jonah and you're being swallowed by the fish. And then 3 days later, whoo, you get spat out onto the beach. I hope you enjoyed today's story and that you'll come back and see Big Ted and Little Ted and me soon for another story. Bye for now.